My name is Jane, I'm 24 and I started my first startup exactly 1 year ago.
I don't think I was really afraid because I wasn't aware of all of the risk that I was taking, because I was too young and naive, and I was more bold than, for example, I would have been now that I know all of the risks. I was most afraid of finding the right people that could support me, the right teammates, where to find them, how to find them. But things started getting into order somehow on their own, I think.
I graduated high school here in Sofia and then I wanted to go abroad to study in Italy because I was learning Italian. My choice on what to study went from what not to study. I knew I didn't want to do law, medicine or mathematics or some other super difficult and vague things. So that's how I decided I would be studying business and economics, because it was a very vague, wide specialization, including many different things like marketing, like finance, and so many other things that I wanted to learn. And I got accepted to the University of Bologna, and I went there, spent around 4 years. No, it was actually 3 years. I didn't repeat. So I spent there 3 years studying economics, and I started my first job as an intern in a company that was hosting startup events, pitching sessions, and so many other startup related things. And that's how I actually got inspired by meeting all these young entrepreneurs who were having their ideas, not already developed startups, but just the idea. And I really got inspired, so I decided to continue my studies with going to do a master's degree in startup creation. I went to Rome, where I started studying this master's degree. It was a pretty new one, very innovative. And at the same time, I was searching for a job to pay for my bills. And my job was in a very interesting startup with a cause. The cause was fighting food waste. It turned out that the company I got accepted to as a business developer was the world's biggest startup fighting food waste. A startup that was created 6 or 7 years ago in Denmark and then grew to 11 countries at that time. Now it's present in around 20 countries. And I wasn't realizing how big of a deal it was, but I liked the idea, so I jumped in.
The most important thing for me is finding the right teammates, and then if you manage to find them afterwards, going in the same direction, in the sense of having the same values and a long-term vision of the startup and of the work in general. Because even if I find the right person in my team, maybe we have different values. Maybe one of them is here for the money, the other one is here for the cause. One of them sees it as a short-term project, and the other wants to dedicate his whole life. And it's important to find the right values, of course.
I stayed there for around 1 year and a half, less than 2 years. For this period, I learned a lot because the team was growing. There were so many new positions, new employees, and at some point we were around 200 people in the company. And at that point, it was when COVID started, and I decided to come back to Bulgaria just for a few weeks until everything is over. These 2 weeks turned into 2 years, and I decided I would come back to Bulgaria for a permanent stay, because it turned out it was a very nice place to live in. I really enjoy living in Bulgaria. At that point, I spoke to my ex-employers to ask them how we can arrange the things, because they were asking me to go back to Italy, to work from Italy. And I was very up for working for them because the company was great. I mean, we were saving food from different food stores that would otherwise throw away everything that is left unsold. All the surplus food was sold via a mobile app, and all the users could buy this food at a reduced price. And my ex-employer said it's not possible to open a branch in Bulgaria because, Bulgaria is such a small country, it's not worth it, and so on. And at that point, I I realized I could actually probably start doing this alone. I quit my job and I started searching for my teammates. I knew this was a web application, so the first thing I started searching for was an IT programmer, because I have nothing to do with maths, with programming and this numerical stuff. So I started searching for a co-founder, and I actually found him very fast through a common friend. He's now my co-founder, and for the last almost 2 years we've been working on this together. We started the company 1 year ago officially, but before that we were working and selling food through the platform in not the most legal way, but
I don't need people with the same skills as me. I mean, in terms of founders and founding team, it's not about the employees. And to be different, to contribute in a different way, to have different experience, different expertise, and domain knowledge that is in a different sphere.
In the beginning, I didn't really know where to start from, even though in theory I was supposed to know everything, because I graduated in business and economics and then in startup creation. But in reality, I didn't know where to start from. So the smartest thing that my co-founder advised me to do, because he's a little bit older and more experienced than me, he asked me to go to an accelerator program. And there was a very nice accelerator program called Activator. It's a program that lasts around 3 months, and you go there with a bare idea and you don't know where to start from. And there you form a team of 5 or 6 people, and with the help of mentors and more experienced people, you just go through the whole period of the idea validation. You start interviewing people, you find your first customers, and we finished the program with starting our website, and we were having our first customers who were actually ordering food, and I was going to Kaufland and all the retailers buying the discounted food, and I was delivering this food with my card just to get the money and have the validation, the proof of concept. It was working, but after I finished this program, I realized we had to gather money in some way, because probably most of you know that IT is very expensive, the prices are growing, so we needed some external funding, and as Lars said, in Bulgaria it's not the easiest thing to get funding.
From my perspective, it's important to have some startup programs for young entrepreneurs who don't have enough experience. Me, myself, I went through a program like that, a startup accelerator, a very basic one that went from idea validation to getting your MVP in less than 3 months. So I think programs like that are from NGOs or from some organizations are also very important, because they bring the practical knowledge to the people.
Started going around each fund that is open to invest in seed investments, like young startups that are not that are not generating so much revenue, and we went to maybe 6 or 7 different investors from the VCs, and on the other hand we started approaching angel investors. These are private people investing their own capital. We had so many meetings for the last 6 or 7 months, I'm losing the number. And we got some yeses, we got many no's, and I realized that when somebody says yes, you need to get their money as fast as possible, because we were a little bit slow with the administrative things, with the documentation, and we managed to lose all the people who said yes, because we were so slow with preparing everything in terms of legal documents. Now we are almost closing the deal with some investors that said yes. I'm very optimistic this time, because everything is almost finished, and maybe next week or until the end of June we will be having our first round of investment. But we realized that these things are happening so slow. It took us like 6 the next country. The next country is going to be Romania, because there are some very strong competitors there, and I think we can beat them because I've got the knowledge and I see that we are a good team. We are actually a team of 10 people already, 9 or 10 people. And this will be the next challenge after closing the investment round. We'll go to Romania, because in the eastern part of Europe there is a big niche, a market niche. The market is very big if we sum all of the countries together. So I guess this will be the next thing I will do in the summer.
I think there is a big potential, but unfortunately I see it only for the bigger cities, starting from Sofia, then going to Plovdiv, Varna, probably Burgas and Ruse, but all of the rest, I think, from my experience, maybe I'm not true, maybe I'm not right, I hope I'm not, but in the smaller cities, I think people are still more closed and not that open-minded and open for new things, innovative things, and they haven't had the experience of living abroad. So I guess this will be different in the following years due to many opportunities of going abroad. I think that each month there is a new, more difficult part because I see new challenges, new problems. In the beginning was scaling the business up to the point that people would start trusting us. There is more left to scale, of course, we have a lot of potential to fill in, but then it was finding the right employees and finding the right way to keep them motivated. Now, for example, the biggest challenge is closing the investment round, because before this point, for me the most difficult was finding the right investor. Now that I've found them, it's a super long and difficult process to close the actual funding. So I guess I'm still young, and that's why each week I'm discovering some new difficulty, but there is plenty of risks and difficulties in the startup in general. I've been living in Bulgaria only for the last 2 years, so I'm a very positive person. I want to believe that things are getting better. So from my point of view, things will go better, but it depends from many external circumstances as the policy, the governance and so on that unfortunately we cannot always change.